Her hobbies are gardening and working in her yard around her house. So if you've seen her backyard, you know. Yeah, okay. Writing, design and decorating, sketching, yoga, reading, working out, camping, water activities, wine tasting, and vacationing around the world. And that is so true. And tell us something about yourself. Are you still writing your first book?
It's incredibly slow, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I pick it up, I put it down. I pick it up, I put it down. And then life gets, life takes over. That's what happens.
Okay, well, Miss Paula Harvey,
Thank
let's
you.
hear what you have to say.
Funny, I'll be leaving next Thursday for Australia for my ridiculous friend gets all these free vacations, and so I'm paying the tax to go on a 10-day Australian cruise, and it cost me $270.
Oh my gosh.
And so I didn't say no. So yeah, I'll be gone starting next Thursday for a couple weeks. Okay, so I was kind of going all over the place. What am I going to talk about today? So many things to talk about that keep coming up. But I decided I'm going to talk about reverse mortgage. Because while it may not be something that most of us in this room are interested or capable of doing at the moment, we know people that could be. And there's a lot of things that people don't understand about reverse mortgage. And so one of the most interesting things is that, people don't realize you can buy a house with a reverse mortgage. So people don't realize that you can use it as a tool. So that sometimes, let's say a client wants to stay in their house, we can set up a line of credit that can be used in conjunction with their assets under management that we may have, for example, and work the market to figure out when is the best time to take the money to distribute to you. Would it come out of the line of credit, or would it come out of your reverse mortgage? I'm sorry, your line of credit, or you're going to take it out of the market. So just a quick little intro, but I want to really talk about what it is. I want to help everybody understand. So reverse mortgage is now referred to as a HECM, home equity conversion mortgage, because we're using it as a tool, just like all of the other mortgages in my tool bag. We're using a reverse mortgage as a tool depending on the needs of the client. So it's a home equity conversion mortgage because now, instead of just letting that equity sit in the brick and mortar in your house that's not doing anything, we're going to convert that into a tool that we can use to help enhance your retirement. That can help enhance the quality of your life and so many things, give you financial freedom. So, as an elderly person, if you can only imagine, you have so little money. For example, I have a client that they're getting ready to buy their last house. They had about $52,000 in retirement assets, and they had sold a house for $960,000 and got a $300,000 loan. Put all the rest into it. Now they want to retire within a year or two. So what are they going to be on? Social Security. They're still going to have a little mortgage. They're going to live on Social Security. What is the quality of that life? Well, they have all this money sitting in their house. Why? I don't know. I just don't understand. But I think, unfortunately, people are starting to see the need for this, because a lot of people, baby boomers, etc., haven't really saved enough money for retirement. So with the reverse mortgage, you can continue to live in your home. You own your home. The bank does not own it. They don't own part of it. You're still on title. When you get the reverse mortgage, it gets set up, however it gets set up to start with. And there's many different ways that this could look. So if you're buying a home, you put a lot of money down, because there is still a good amount of equity that's in there. It depends on your age, the interest rate, so many factors that say what is the maximum principal limit that you can borrow against this home. So with a purchase, you typically would put so much money down, never have a mortgage payment, just pay your taxes and insurance, HOAs if you have them. If you live in a home and you want to refinance it, and let's say a lot of people, they don't have a mortgage, they've paid it down, they're great, but they have very little to live on. So they have this huge asset. So we can see how much we can take out, and we can do a combination of either a monthly payout to them every month into perpetuity, even if they live to be 500 years old, right? And a line of credit, you can have and or. So you can have a monthly payment, or you can have a line of credit, or you can have a combination of both. And it just gets figured out depending what the needs are. Like I had a client in Santa Cruz and she just wanted $500 a month and the rest in a line of credit. So we gave her her $500 and then we gave her about $140,000 line of credit and paid off her existing mortgage. So now she has no mortgage, income, and money that sits a line of credit and actually grows over time. We call it a line of credit, but it's still money that you can borrow, but it grows available to you at the same rate of interest that you're paying on the part that you owe. So that, and it's compounded. So as long as it sits there, it's going to keep growing and growing and growing. So if you don't need it for a while, it keeps growing, then you take what you need. You can always pay it back too, if you want. It just depends. Everybody's situation is just a little bit different. So most reverse mortgages are government insured. So basically that means they're FHA. So that is a great thing because that house can never be upside down. It is a non-recourse loan, so there is no debt. If the house were upside down, which is typically not how it works, typically you are not upside down, but if it were upside down, there would be no debt that would pass on to the heirs. As a matter of fact, if they really wanted the home, they could purchase it at 95% of the then market value if it was upside down. So, and that is covered by FHA with the mortgage insurance. So mortgage insurance takes care of anything, and so nobody has to worry. So it's really nice, you know, provides a lot of peace of mind. And of course, that property passes to the heirs. So, and I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention when I started. Did you?
Neither did I.
Okay, well, I probably won't take too much longer.
Okay, we'll give you another.
7 minutes so far.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Thank you.
Well, there you go.
Okay. So there's been a lot. So how did this all happen to where now we are in this age where reverse mortgages are actually a good thing, but not all the public sees that it is, because we still hold on to all the stuff that occurred, what, 80s, you know, and before that, where elderly people were getting taken advantage of. Their homes were not owned by them. They were either owned or shared by the bank, so that the heirs didn't get anything. It was messy. It was very, very messy. And so Congress stepped in many times over the years, particularly in 1987, where they decided that they, in order to really meet the special needs of the elderly people, they needed to step in and make sure that their home was safe, that they weren't taken advantage of, and that changed a lot of things. Let's see. Don't want to get too crazy. Yeah, so one of the things that I like to really help people understand is because of this amazing tool that you have in your home, you know, you can really, if you, like I had a client who, she just wanted to take her daughter to lunch. She couldn't even afford to take her daughter to lunch. And so we refinanced her little condo that she had, took away the mortgage payment, gave her a little monthly income, and man, the next time I saw her after we closed, she was like a light person. She was so happy and relieved that she didn't have all this obligation, and she was enjoying her life. So it really helps to enhance the quality of your life. You know, when you think of retiring, you think of happy things, right? Like you want to be able to enjoy your life. You want to be able to, for me, I want to be able to travel. Like, I'm not going to retire if I can't travel. It's just not going to happen. I don't want to live with my kids. I don't want to ask my kids or anyone else for money. I want to be still independent. And so what this does is it allows you to be independent and, you know, comfortable, because you can actually afford to live the quality of life that you want.
Paula, what about the ADUs? If someone has a home and they want an ADU, which is an accessory dwelling unit,
Yeah.
in the backyard.
To build one, you mean?
How does that work?
With a reverse mortgage
Well,
specifically,
no,
or
just
anything?
a mortgage. How would you work? They have a mortgage already,
Mhm.
and now they gotta go build it. and they either need construction loan for that, have the existing loan, how would that work?
Probably in that case, we could look at it as either a construction or a rehab loan, or cash out, depending on, if they haven't, depending on the equity they have, we could just do a cash out refinance, you know? There's so many ways, it just depends.
But what if they had a 4% interest rate on their house?
Yeah.
Now they're gonna be hit, aren't they?
Well, if they refinance, they're gonna pay whatever the going rate is, yes, but it depends, I mean, if they're gonna get an ADU and they're gonna make all this money renting it out, you've gotta see the net, and they're not stuck in that loan, like as if they were renting, when the rates come down again, they can refinance,
So could
Yeah.
they do a reverse, take out the money, put in the ADU,
Yeah.
and use that as income?
yeah, actually, one of
That's a really good
Yeah.
idea, Bob.
Yeah, I had one of my clients,
I like
Santa
it.
Cruz, that's what she did, except that we had held off on the reverse because somehow the contractor, I never knew a contractor would do this, said they would wait to get paid until it was completed. So we did the reverse mortgage after and gave her a line of credit, and she paid the contractor off. And put in an ADU, it makes it nice income out of that in addition.
Yeah, they've been really popular right now.
Yeah.
And they,
Yeah.
very quickly, they have plans in Sacramento County that exist, that you can walk in and pull it and pay the permit and go to work.
Huh,
They're already designed, laid out, and approved.
huh, that's great. And with that client, I'll tell you, because it is such a great idea, especially in Santa Cruz, right? I mean, anywhere rent is sky high right now. So she had her a tiny little Social Security income, a little mortgage, and she didn't hardly make it at all. She doesn't have any kids. Her caregiver is like her beneficiary, basically. So they built the ADU. Now I think she's pulling in $2,600 a month on that. She has no mortgage, so she took it out of her house, so she has no mortgage. Plus she gets $500 a month there, plus her Social Security. Can you imagine the difference in her lifestyle now? A little bit. Yeah, a little bit. So it makes a big difference. Leak.
I want to go back to the first example you gave. You asked the question why that couple were resistant to doing the reverse mortgage. Can you explain to me, what did you ask them why, or why do you think the answer? What's the answer to that?
I can tell you.
Well, in this case, I would like to hear your answer, but in this case, this client was just, nope, we are going, they made good money, but it wasn't reflected in their assets, if you will. And so they just were not open. So, and I was even talking to their realtor about it, and I just said, I'm just gonna let it be and make sure they know that it's here as a tool, so if they later change their mind, they know it's there, so.
I would say you have to understand, the asset in California, the big asset is usually somebody's home, right? Because the prices of the houses have escalated to this point. So they may have a little bit of money in the bank or some, whatever, but the huge asset is the house. The adult children know that when mom and dad pass, I'm getting that house. And I'm, that, $1 million house that they don't want to sell, that they bought for $200,000, back in the day, and now it's $1 million. I'm gonna get that asset. So the adult children sometimes are very resistant to a reverse mortgage, because really what's gonna happen then is, at the end of the day, they're gonna get less money, because the reverse mortgage is drawing down or on the equity in the home. So that's also a whole thing. That's what I see a lot of, is the adult children are very, mom and dad, this is a really bad idea. And it could be a bad idea. It all depends on that person's situation.
Mom and dad usually think it's a bad idea. They want to leave,
Yes, and that's the other thing. They feel obligated. I have to leave something to my children.
Yeah.
I have a solution to that. Now, I've not done this yet, but if somebody wants to do that, if they're committed to that for the reason, for the tax plan, other kind of thing, to do the mortgage, if they qualify for life insurance, which is cheap, they can use some of the money that they're getting from the reverse mortgage to pay for life insurance, which replaces the house.
Yeah.
That is a good idea.
That is a
as
really
well.
good idea, yeah. Yeah, that's actually a really good idea. So, yeah, there's a lot of reasons, but the thing is, I think one of the biggest things is that there's just not awareness. People have a bad relationship idea based on how things were with reverse mortgages, but they are not there. And also to note, I also work with, well, Finance of America is no longer, but Finance of America Reverse is, and they have an amazing product. They have a proprietary product that I put a lot of clients into that is a jumbo reverse product. So if the property is higher value, we can put it in, and it's not actually under FHA. It's still just as good. It still has the same parameters. There's a lot of equity in the property, so there's really just typically not an issue with it being upside down. But there's no upfront mortgage insurance. There's no monthly mortgage insurance. It's a great product, and a lot of houses are falling in this particular realm too because they're up there in value. So there's some really good ways for people. So the other thing that the people, if they can get their head wrapped around it, is, okay, I only have this much money, so I want to get out of this 2-story house, go into a single story, maybe move into a retirement community or whatever, but I only have this much money, so they can't buy what they maybe really want. But if they were to actually use a reverse mortgage, they could probably buy what they really want because they don't need to put all the cash. They don't want a mortgage, right? They don't need to put all that cash in. Not only do they need less money to buy a bigger or more of a house that they want, they're going to typically have money left over that they can hand over to their financial planner to help those assets grow too. So there's there's so much here. Yes,
can you do a reverse mortgage and use the reverse mortgage payments to move into assisted living and keep that house and rent it out?
no,
Okay.
it is owner occupied only.
Okay.
For 360, so if they're out of the home for 365 days, then now the loan will be due. But if they're out for 364 and come back for one, then the clock starts over again.
Okay, so you have to reside in it 1 day a year.
Well, that's not the way
Per year?
But if they rented it out, that would be a red flag because now all of a sudden they're going to have to change their homeowner's insurance and that's going to go to the lender and they're going to see it's not, it has to be intended to be your primary home. Like if you live there and then you just leave for a while, but your intention is to come back, not to rent it, then that's different.
I got an answer for the kids being worried about the equity. You just go to each of them and say, this is what I need, so if you give me the money, I won't have to get a reverse mortgage, you can have my equity.
There you go. That sounds exactly like something you would say, Bob. That is really true.
Do you think that they'll ever move towards reverse mortgage like for investment property since it's a financial tool or because it's FHA? No, it's always going to be homeowner occupied.
Yeah, I mean, they have to really protect it too. But what you can do, and some people do, is let's say I have a home here, but I really want to buy a second home in Florida, right? I don't own anything on this house, but I really, I can't really afford 2 houses, but, or maybe I have a little mortgage here, whatever. You get a reverse mortgage, you get the line of credit, or you take a lump sum of cash at closing, doesn't matter, depending on how you do it. And then you go and you either pay all cash for the other house, or get a loan over there, or whatever you do, but you can only have a reverse on one of them. So now they have 2 houses they can afford because in most cases, they don't have a mortgage on either one of them. They just have to pay taxes and insurance. And now they have 2 houses because they want to live on both coasts, right? Maybe they have a kid here and grandkids and a kid over there and grandkids. I don't know. So, but yeah, it does happen. People are very interested in doing that. I know I'm running out. It's 8:25 right now, but any more questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I would be very happy to help.
Thank you, Paula. That was a great presentation.